What's happening, Crackers? This is the first episode of the video journal, and I guess the whole point of this isn't really to make a name for myself or to blow up by any means. If it happens, whatever, but just to consolidate my thoughts, ideas, opinions, feelings on certain things, and just kind of throw them out in the void. But yeah, first and foremost, without further ado, let's get into the Bible chapter of the day. And I found this neat little trinket in my childhood bedroom. I happened to be here for a couple hours before I fly back across the country. I was working for a few days, so it was just nice to catch up with family and see some familiar faces, go back around the old stomping grounds. But yeah, we got the Founder's Bible is interesting. I was reading through Proverbs, and there was a section about how when you owe someone money, you are essentially their slave, or like it impedes on your freedom. And the next page had a very descriptive illustration of the boys hucking tea overboard in Boston. I thought that was pretty testy. Yeah, let's dive into it. We got King Solomon, the wisest man to have done it. And this is Ecclesiastes 3. During the Jesus movement in the 60s and 70s, actually, there were a lot of like Jesus hippies that wrote music. One of them, I think the Byrds, wrote a tune in which the lyrics were Ecclesiastes 3. So this is a pretty interesting chapter. Let's get into it. There's a time for everything. There's an appointed time for everything, and there's a time for every event under heaven. A time to give birth and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to throw stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to shun embracing. A time to search and a time to give up as lost. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear apart and a time to sew together. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time for love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What profit is there to the worker from that in which he toils? I have not seen the task which God has given the sons of men with which to occupy themselves. And then verse 11 is fire. He has made everything appropriate in its time. Now in some translations it comes out to he has made everything beautiful in its time. But yeah, pretty awesome start to the chapter. And I'm in a Discord group with the boys, and we've kind of succinctly packaged that idea into this thing called Rule 1, which is that everything comes back. The good times, bad times, crazy times, tranquil times, they all find their way back to you in life at some point in your walk down the road. And I really feel like how you handle your downfall and how you rebound from your downfall determines your success ultimately. And also, failure is kind of goated. Failure is a great thing because it's just feedback. I think there's another book. I haven't read it, but it's interesting. It's on the list. But the 4 agreements, and one of them is don't take anything personal. So I've kind of realized that as long as I freaking relax and just use what the world gives me as data, I can quickly kind of get back on track, steer, keep walking down the path, and get back after it. And the freaking sun's out. How about that? This is a very gray, gloomy, brick titty day. It's just cold and rainy and gray. What's up, son? How you doing today? Hell yeah. Cool. But yeah, the Jesus movement of the 60s and 70s was interesting, man, because all these mystics and all these people that were outside of the traditional fundamental Christian views were starting to acknowledge Jesus. Even now in the East, people were linking Eastern philosophy with Western philosophy, which, I mean, of course, I am like fully like fundamental with my beliefs of Christianity, but it's still pretty neat to see people that did not grow up like that were not like rooted in, those ideologies from birth, come to discover Jesus Christ, not as God, which again, I disagree with. I fully disagree with. But as a great teacher and a great mystic and a trailblazer and a model for who to be, which is still like pretty profound, pretty powerful. Yeah, I was at a function and I was talking about that, and I was called a heretic, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, pretty cool. Relaxing is a beautiful freaking thing. I don't know. This is like, I come from an area, and my family is just always, everyone's so wound freaking tight, and it's just so nice to unwind and just kind of take in what's going on. I mean, I've noticed like my health is better, my mood is better, my disposition in life is better. I'm more charismatic, I'm more present. It's just like, it's goated. Like being relaxed and being smooth as silk up here has just given me some superpowers to navigate through life. And I've noticed a significant change in how I carry myself and how I interact with others, and how I perform at work. All these things, everything seems to be coming together nicely. I was reading the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, and this is an interesting read because he was a plastic surgeon. So the entirety of the book is focused on your identity and your self-perception, your self-image, and all these things. But he talks about like that's like it's rigid. You can't really change that or refocus yourself if you're always trying to control, and you're freaking tight and you got some adrenergic activity. Your adrenaline's freaking pumping and dumping. You just can't really. You're the machinery. God, this is a beautiful and interesting piece of kit that God has given us in the package deal, along with our heartbeat lease and the breath in our lungs, and all this other great, wonderful stuff. But this is a beautiful computer that we have, and in order for it to run, our computers can crash when we're overly stressed or overly worked up about things that ultimately don't matter. And that's what Ecclesiastes gets at, man. That is what Ecclesiastes gets at. I mean, death is the great equalizer. We're not making it out of this bitch alive. So just enjoy the ride. Relax. Oh, gosh, dude. Yeah, I mean, waking up in the middle of the night with your heart pounding and struggling to breathe, that's no way to live. So that's the spirit of fear. I mean, faith is great. I think being retarded is wonderful for your faith, because faith totally overcomes and helps you to sidestep fear. You know, if you're faithful, it's gonna triumph over any source. There's a verse in Jeremiah too. I forget the chapter in which it is in, but it says something along the lines of casting your anxieties onto the Lord. It's not gonna matter eventually. Soon you're gonna look back and laugh. You're gonna look back and laugh at yourself when you see where you came from. It's pretty nice. But yeah, relaxing is great. Relaxing is the truth, and honestly, I'm glad that I've started to deliberately relax through meditation, prayer, and just other mediums in my life, because it's just made everything more seamless and effortless, and trials and tribulations are just more easy to deal with on the whole as a result of this. But yeah, the leaves are changing. You know, there's some fall colors going on. It's exciting. It's an exciting time. I used to get nervous about fall. I used to be like, oh, winter's coming, you know, the cold, the gloom, and the doom. Where's the sun gonna be at? Nah, this is an opportunity to just kind of hunker down and make moves. Continue to make moves, and to continue to develop your character and shift your identity to whatever you want to be. It's a good time to be alive. Well, yeah, that's cool. I've yapped for about 9 minutes now. I think that's good enough for the first time. But yeah, I guess some goals that I'd like to have happen out of this. I'd like to be a better speaker. I'd like to convey my ideas more confidently and clearly, and just kind of get out of my head and get into my body. Just kind of let my thoughts just flow over. Because I know there are some good things up here, and there's good things in everyone's minds. Everyone's got some good things that they're cooking up. It's just most of the time I feel like we're too jammed up, we're too wound up, and we can't, release them. We can't, release some of the golden ideas that we have, and bounce them off of other people and refine them and improve on them. So yeah, I'm just excited to see what other topics I wander down, and if there's a place to be, then being on the way there is the way to be. The journey of many miles starts with a step. I forgot who said that, but it's ultimately true. It's happening right now, and I'm just gonna enjoy the ride and be present and be relaxed. And thank God, man. Thank God. Happy Monday, everyone.